Protagonistas del cómic.
Buenas noches, gente. Qué linda noche para volver a Protagonistas del cómic, ¿no, Mario?
Sí, la verdad, Kyle, increíble, y la verdad que estábamos esperando este momento y poder reencontrarnos con todos y hablar con nuestros queridos héroes de nuestra vida, por así decirlo, ¿no?
Sí, totalmente. Y hoy realmente estoy muy nervioso, gente. Téngame paciencia si no hablo bien inglés hoy, pero estoy medio nervioso. Tranquilo. Pero tenemos a una leyenda del cómic, realmente es una leyenda este señor. Seguramente habrán visto su trabajo en varios cómics.
Infinidad.
Y yo creo que cuando vean todo el trabajo que hace este hombre en el cómic, yo creo que ya se van a dar cuenta de que, sí, seguramente lo vieron en cualquier lado, lo vieron. Así que, sin más vueltas, vamos a hablar en inglés ahora. I'm going to introduce...
Esperen los subtítulos para...
Sí, los subtítulos después, ¿no? I'm going to introduce a comic book legend, Mr. Steve Rudd.
Hola everyone in Argentina.
Hello, Mr. Rudd.
How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing very well, muy bien.
Welcome to Protagonistas del Comic. It's a huge honor to have you here.
I appreciate that. I think I need to work on my Spanish after hearing you guys talk a moment ago.
Oh, well, mostly it was an introduction flattering you. So,
well, very.
Was that? Yes, sir.
No, you go ahead. I just said that's very nice of you to do that.
Okay. Thank you. We're gonna begin the interview to speaking about your beginnings, Mr. Rudd. How you got in the comic books in the first place?
Industry.
Yeah, well, I remember drawing dinosaurs in kindergarten. Everyone loved dinosaurs. This whole generation of mine that was born in the 50s and early 60s were all dinosaur freaks. And you can tell that now because there's so many new books on dinosaurs that have come out since then. I drew animals a lot. I never drew people until I was almost in high school. I loved animals. I used to have drawing contests with my dad. We'd sit on the living room couch and we'd pick a picture of some animal book, like a lion or something. And he would draw it, and then I would draw it. And my dad was actually very good. I wish I had some of those drawings. But he clearly had some talent. My mom always said, you got whatever talent you have, you got it from your dad. My dad was a very good guy, very average kind of a human being. You know, got up, went to work, drank his coffee, came home, read his paper, watched some TV, the news, and then went to bed. You know, I'm nothing like that. I'm different. But yes, as far as like later on goes, high school came along and I rediscovered comics, and I just fell right into it, and I was so glad. Jack Kirby.
What was that first comic book
that I saw, like when I rediscovered them?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, the first thing I wanted to do was remember it was only like two years since I used to collect them and read them, and I thought, well, 2 years later, is there even a comic book industry anymore? Are the same guys still working there? Because when 2 years when you're youthful seems like a lifetime. Now I can do that drinking coffee. Yeah, so I immediately wanted to find out if Jack Kirby was still doing comics, because he was my favorite. And I looked around and I saw this comic called The Demon. It was number 3. And I recognized the work right away. And I said, yeah, Steve, or Jack Kirby is still drawing comics. Isn't that nice? So I grabbed them. They were up to 20 cents at that point. I also remember seeing a comic called Master of Kung Fu. I timed it so that I saw the very first issue. And this is one of the comics that helped diversify me for my tastes. Because I just liked Jack Kirby and Romita and people from Guild Marvel days. What I found interesting about this Master of Kung Fu comic was the way he told the story. This was Jim Starlin we're talking about.
Yes.
And I was fascinated by that. I'd never seen anyone use panels like that. Years later, when I was in the business, I was attending a convention in Atlanta, and Jim Starlin happened to be sitting right next to me, and I started to go into telling him how that book started to change my life, how it opened up my eyes. And a couple seconds later, he reaches into his portfolio and he gives me a piece of the artwork from that original Master of Kung Fu book.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh my God.
I think when people give art away like that, they're either looking to sell it, or they're looking for someone who would love this so much that they would never sell it, and it would mean so much to them throughout their lifetime. And that's kind of what I do as well. If I know somebody's so into what I might have drawn or painted, there's a very good chance I will, pass it on to them, just because they love it so much. So yeah, that's kind of the story of Master of Kung Fu and rediscovering Jack Kirby.
And after discovering comics, how you got into the feeling of I want to draw comics. I want to get in the comic book industry.
Yeah. Well, high school for me was copying comic book drawings. Mostly, they were starting to reprint the Fantastic Four at the time. Yeah. This is like the mid early 70s, and I was in high school at the time. So they were reprinting the Jack Kirby stuff like they always do, forever and ever. So I had those books to buy and copy from. And I just loved sitting there at my little table with my little ebony pencil, maybe in an eraser somewhere, and just copying the drawings. And I would just, that's what I would do. When I wasn't doing something else, I would just sit there and draw from those comics. So I kind of learned to draw from Jack Kirby. And that was when I had stopped drawing animals. I didn't care about drawing animals anymore. I cared about drawing things that looked like Jack Kirby comics. I was just fascinated by that. And that happened. I kept that up all through high school. And then high school ends, and you're looking at yourself at 18 years old, and you're thinking, well, I guess this is the time you're supposed to figure out what you're supposed to do with your life. Is it like that in Argentina? You graduate from, you have a high school equivalent? You call it high school or something else?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we have.
Yeah. Yes, indeed.
So at 18, you're done with high school, right?
Yeah.
And then you have to figure out what you're going to do, right?
Exactly.
Yes, of course, exactly.
Okay, so we're on the exact same page here. I'm curious what you guys went through at 18, but as far as myself goes, it was a time to kind of look into yourself and think, okay, well, I'm supposed to figure out what I want to do now. And I think it's going to be comics. And I just practice all the time.
You know, sir, you have the advantage that there here in the States, you have an industry in comic books. Here in Argentina, we have a very small industry of comics. It's more independent than the big industries like DC, Marvel, or whatever. And also, we all love to work on comics, but we have to do different careers. For instance, myself, I'm a journalist, so I can't draw comics. I write notes and some things, but I can't do anything in the industries. And also I'm a bad drawer, a bad artist, so I can't draw anything.
What about you, Kyle? Have you ever wanted to be in the field of drawing?
Yeah. Yes. In fact, I like drawing. I draw, but it's very difficult. It's very difficult because it's not that people doesn't encourage you to go to do this, but it's difficult because, as Mario said, here the comic book industry is very small. It's mostly independent, and the chances that you get the opportunity to be choose from I don't know the big two like Marvel, DC, or now I don't know, Dark Horse, Image. It's almost it's a very small chance.
Yes, and also in that chance is we have here in comic conventions, when artists from or people representing from the big companies come to Argentina. For instance, here in Argentina, that projects we have one convention, real comic convention here called Crack Bam Boom in the city of Rosario, one of the city of Argentina. So the people can give their artwork to the industry. So but there are small chances here in our country, because we have a lot of fanzines here, a lot of fanzines. So it's interesting because we have it's a small industry, but we have a lot of characters that are amazing here in Argentina.
Well, I'm not surprised to hear that. People love comics. I mean, comic books are a very simple thing. They're nothing more than illustrated novels, right? Illustrated book.
Yes.
And as far as I'm really glad you guys have a community of fans out there that you guys can hang out with. I mean, it may be small, but I'm sure you find a group of friends there that you really have a good time with when you hook up with them, right?
Yes, of course.
Yeah. Well, we can speak about comics.
Of course. And we met with Kyle and I have to say Damian. I have a chance to say hello to him and Agus and everyone that we met. We met by the internet. Personally. And also personally by when the pandemic started. So
you get together. Zoom?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Where do you meet? You meet in coffee shops or your homes, or?
First of all, in our homes, because I'm from a different city than Kyle and the other guys. But I traveled to Buenos Aires and I met them, and we have a lot of in common, everything, because every day we're talking about comic books, and we create a community. That's I don't know.
That's the best thing, that we have the chance to share our knowledge, our knowledge, our love for the comics with other people. I remember when I was younger, when I don't know, 15, 16, and I don't have a friend that who likes comics.
Me neither.
And now it's like the comic book. It becomes something that everyone can read, everyone can access. It's very different how the comic book industry changed through the years till now, thanks to maybe the movies, the video
Yes.
games, I don't know.
The TV series.
Well, I have a lot of thoughts on what you guys are talking about. Everybody wants friends. Everybody. I used to have a really great group of friends when I was in college and beyond. But mostly my life right now, I wish I had more friends. I really don't. I have a lot of fans. They're very nice people. They write me very nice letters, and I get some great feedback from them. But that's very important to have that throughout your life. People that you can get together with and socialize with and talk to. Everyone, especially people that read comics, have all these ideas in their head. They tend to be very smart people, and they read these books, whether they're today's books or books from the past, and they've got all these thoughts. And when you guys get together, you finally have a chance to talk about those things, to share those ideas that are going through your head. I mean, there's no limit on imagination, and comic book fans have it in a vast amount of imagination, don't they?
Yes, indeed. Especially with speculations and theories about what's coming up next, what happened. It's
and
a
also
rich world.
And also I'm a fan from the old stuff, and they are fan of the new stuff, and they continue reading a lot of things. But I'm a huge fan from the old stuff, particularly, and we love to share the knowledge with each other. It's amazing.
Obviously, you know that my heart is in the past. Everything that I love and everything I want to do now, in today and in the future, is based on things from the past, because I love it so much.
Yes, it's amazing, because that's the genesis of everything, of our beloved characters.
Well, I tell you, it's the best. I don't even call it making a living. It's the best place to be for a person with an imagination that I could ever imagine. I happen to have some talent for drawing pictures, and I developed it. I went to many art schools, and I practice all the time. I love to practice. I think that might be one of my secrets of how I might have succeeded over time. Is I would see something that I liked, and I would get out my sketchbook and copy it. And so through those guys that I liked, that were so good, I learned, so much of what I know now in painting or drawing.
Mr. Root, and when you start studying art for, I don't know, you start studying art for drawing comics, or you started because you like drawing?
Well, I think everything that I learned to draw was eventually channeled into comics. I mean, the whole art of storytelling is so sophisticated and simple at the same time. I think all theories, if you're able to translate them from sometimes theories can be very complex, but when you're trying to explain them, if you're a teacher and you're trying to teach somebody art, you've got to break everything that's complex down to something that's not complex. And a good teacher can help you understand what the basics are all about, but not just drawing the cubes and the spheres and stuff that bores everyone to death. You've got to make it exciting for them. So one of the ways I try to do things, if somebody wants to learn something, I'll just tell them to draw what they like, and they'll bring it in, they'll show me, I'll help them out, but I'll always tell them that how I'm helping them is always based on the simple fundamentals. And then slowly they start to pick up on that, slowly, because they want to do the exciting stuff right away, not the boring stuff. And that's how everyone thinks about it. And I think that's the best way to teach people. But when they get into trouble, I just say, well, here's how I would solve it. And it's all based on very simple stuff. I like to help people. I love to help people that are going through a time in their life when they're unhappy. They wish they were doing something they're not. There's a lot of people in the world like that. I think another one of my secrets is that I had a lot of drive, a lot of personal drive. Like nothing was going to stop me, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So when you guys talk about the fact that you were in Argentina, really, a person that wants to succeed really bad can overcome anything. They could be in a little hut in Africa, and if they can find a pencil and some paper, and they really have a lot of drive, watch out. These guys are the next great artists out there.
Yes,
It's so inspiring.
So that's inspired, right, sir?
Yeah, it's so inspiring what you are saying, Mr. Root, because a lot of people doesn't feel that way or doesn't know that it's like you say. If you have the if you feel like that you want to draw, you feel like that you want to do something with that knowledge, with that talent, do it. Do it. You can do it.
Yes.
You really can. I mean, if you take anyone who's got a living condition that's far from perfect, you take 100 people out of the ghetto or something, right? Most likely the odds would be like, say, 95% of them tell you what they're not able to do because of their conditions. But there's always that 5% that say, I don't care what the conditions are. I'm going to find a way to make it. And I don't care how hard it is. That's a human being thing. And it's very hard to underestimate or overestimate the power of a human being who wants something so bad, they'll do anything to get it. And if you read people's life stories, their biographies, the people that are successful, they always have a different version of that same thing. They will find a way.
Mm-hmm.
When everyone else says no, they say yes. So nothing is impossible. Literally nothing. And besides, it's your life. We're talking about a lifetime here.
Yeah.
Yes, of course.
If you've got a human lifetime, a human lifespan, you've got all the time that you're ever going to get that you really need to accomplish your goals. And it starts right now.
Yeah.
Yes,
it starts when you want to start. That's the deal. When you have this sensation that tells you, do it now. It's now or never. You have to do it. You have to do it. Everything is like that. I feel the same way in some things.
Yeah.
This for example, what we do in YouTube, that we started in the pandemics. We didn't do it before the pandemics. We started with the pandemics, and it was that moment or never. And we both of us never knew nothing about this. I didn't know about YouTube or how to do this.
Nothing.
Doing streaming. I didn't do it. I didn't know, and I learned. We take the risk, both of us.
We learn about each other because he shows me something, I show him to him. So it was a reciprocity, and that was the way, and we could do this, and we could forge a friendship. So it's amazing what comic books can do, right, sir?
Well, there's nothing I love to do more with my time and in my existing time. I've already had 60 some years to live a life and pursue everything that I want, and it just keeps getting more exciting. So if you have that kind of attitude about something, you're always going to be in pursuit of something and be happy being in pursuit of something. It's always a challenge, and challenges are what people look for in life. The fact that you knew nothing about podcasts and this kind of stuff before the pandemic, and now look at you right now. This is testament to what you were both saying. You wanted to do it, you found a way. And by the way, reciprocity is a very big word for a guy that doesn't speak native English.
Thank you, sir.
I'm impressed by that.
The one and only Mario. The one and only Mario.
Sir, I want to ask you a question, because you talk about Jack Kirby, you know?
Yeah.
You talk about Jack Kirby and everything. I saw your artwork, and you inspire a lot of Jack Kirby's and from Spider-Man and everything, but you also inspired with other things that it's for us. We could watch the TV shows and everything like that. Is Hanna-Barbera.
Alex
Toth too.
Oh, Toth, yeah.
So you have some you get something from that too, right? To do your work.
Well, that's part of the fun of being an artist. You have the ability to pick and choose everyone that you like, and in my case, I would just get out the sketchbook. I love the way he drew this character, or the way he's standing. I want to see if I can do that. So you start with one figure, and then you go on to two. Pretty soon you've got 100 drawings, like I have over the years. I was trying to study Alex Toth because of his naturalness and how he made people just standing or sitting on a chair. Those basic things that's probably what I learned from him more than anything else from Alex is how to construct figures and make them look normal, natural, at ease, and not stiff. That's a problem with a lot of people that start out.
Right.
It's not easy, and it's not meant to be.
And how can you for people that have this problem with the drawing stiff, how can you improve that?
Well, again, my method was to look at people that didn't draw stiff and figure out how they would do something. Let's see if I can get out my pencil here and my sketchbook and show you what I mean. So let's open up the page here. Here's actually some stuff that I just did recently.
Oh my God.
Oh
my God.
This is from the Space Ghost episode called The Web. Alex laid that out.
Oh, awesome.
Really liked it, so I just copied it.
Yeah.
So I went from an 18-year-old Steve Rude to a 65-year-old Steve Rude, and I'm still doing the same thing. So the first thing I would show you about drawing is if you take any figure ever, you can break it down to a single line. So you guys at home that are watching this, or even Mario and Kyle,
yes,
take a photograph of anything, take a drawing of anything, and if you're trained right to look for it, you'll be able to find a way to make things look natural, even at a stage like this. So from there I could, flesh it out and like I was telling you earlier about how amazing the human brain is.
Oh my God.
We have the ability to, do things that supposedly animals can't do.
Yes.
And this is one of the things you can learn from learning how to construct figures. when you're drawing something, everything has location points. Where the eyes go, where the nose goes, where the head goes in relation to everything else. And I don't know, it's just fun.
we're having the time of our lives here, sir.
No, sir, this is amazing. This is a master class of drawing comic books.
Well, this is what makes it so fun. If you're determined to learn how to draw comic books, in comic books, mainly it's all about how exciting it is to draw dynamic figures and people clashing and all things like that. But you also have to draw all the things that most people getting into comics do not think about drawing. And that would include someone sitting on a couch, somebody sitting on a chair naturally, somebody just talking to somebody in the town square. If you have a guy talking to a girl, there's all this body language going on. And I think instinctively, we all know what that is because we're talking about fellow human beings. Whenever you meet a girl that's really pretty, you will react a certain way to her that makes it very clear to either the girl or someone watching you that you really think she's cute. So that's part of the storytelling part of comics. How is this guy going to stand as he's talking to her? Is he going to fidget? Is he going to be nervous? Is he going to try to fake that he's nervous and that he's not nervous? This is the science of psychology. And when you're drawing comic books, you have a chance to go into your imagination and take everything that you've ever seen or dreamed about and put it on paper. And that's why it's such a perfect job. And all these people that want to learn how to draw comics, I can tell you that it's the most wonderful job I could ever imagine having.
Yes, of course. Sir, I have to say something, sir. This is the most emotional interview we have.
Yeah, I'm breathless.
Now.
I'm breathless.
We are breathless, speechless, because you're giving to us a master class of everything, not only of art, just a lot of things. Sort of lifestyles. Thank you, sir. Really, thank you about this interview we have with us.
And these advices.
And the advices, of course.
The three of us are fans. We love what we love. I just happen to be lucky enough to have a strong drive, so that I wanted to follow in the footsteps of the great artists that came before me. And so that in itself was just a wonderful life challenge. But, comic books tend to bring out these things in people. Comic books are about stories. And whatever the story may happen to be about, like I was just talking, the boy meets girl kind of thing, you'll get a chance to draw pretty much anything and everything when you're drawing comic books. And the fact that you guys have an independent movement going on there, that should be nothing that should hold you back. In fact, I think that's an advantage that you guys have, that you're not tied down to desperately wanting to work for Marvel or DC. There's really nothing stopping you from sitting down, going into your imagination, and thinking, this is the story that I want to do. Well, I can't really draw that well. Well, so you get out the drawing, how to draw books. And I don't know if I can really pull this off as a writer. Never mind that. It's all in the way you think about things. I mean, the fact that you have the inspiration and the excitement to even want to try it is really where you should be looking, as far as, yes, you can do it. And I have these ideas and I'm going to put them down on paper. and I'm going to learn to tell a story with them. And I'm going to, if I just get going, I'll just find the right words. And if I just get going, I'll find the right way to draw these people. And so what if it's crude or not professional? That really is something that should be just put out of your mind. Just try to have fun, have a good time. And when you work on yourself, when you work in comics, you're always working on yourself. The things that you want to say in life, you can put down. And when you put those down, you feel like you've accomplished something. Very important. Because after all, we've only got one life and one brain. So the fact that you've got these inspirational thoughts and there's things you want to do with them, let nothing hold you back.
Mm-hmm. Sir, we have here in Argentina about it, talking about comic books. We have a golden age here with many artists and writers like Oesterheld, Breccia, Hugo Pratt, Corto Maltese, the comic book, the character. Well, we have our comic book, the greatest comic book here is called El Eternauta.
Okay.
So that was our huge hit till this day. So we had in those times a lot of things here that our artists in that time were inspired by European artists. So if you read an Argentinian comic book, you will see that kind of art. Nowadays, the artists they took a lot of inspirations from the European, from anime, from the United States and America or American. Now it's different. But if you read that kind of stuff from the past, you'll see that kind of things from the European.
And how does that title of the comic book that is big in Argentina translate to English?
I think is the.
I think I don't wanna
say
something that doesn't fit, but I think it's the Eternaut.
The Eternaut, I think. But it's Eternauta. I will write here in the private chat.
Mm-hmm.
That's the title.
Meanwhile, we have a question from our chat from Lucia. It says, why do you prefer pouring your art into comics rather than other art mediums?
Well, those are very good questions. I remember when I was living in Los Angeles, and I would go over to DreamWorks and Disney Studios. And one of the things I noticed is that whereas these animators and these people in that business of TV and animation, even movies, made a good living off it, every one of them I talked to when they met me, they said, I'd really rather be doing comics. Now, isn't that something?
It's amazing. It's something that feels the soul from someone who works on it.
Well, they wanted to do something that was personal to them, and not just being one of 1,000 people anonymously contributing to the credits at the end of movies, where you see hundreds of people now. Their names go so fast you don't even you don't have a chance to even read them unless you stop them. So they all wanted to do a comic book because it was personal to them and their name would be on it. And I just happen to love comic books so much that I never thought about going into TV or movies or something else. But I did want the training that showed me that if I needed to go into those fields, I could, because I was so well versed in every part of art. Some people just like to stick to pen and ink. Well, to me, that's just one of the hundreds of things that you can do in this playground when you're an artist. There's charcoal, there's crayons, there's pastel, there's oil paint, there's watercolors, there's acrylic, and there's 1,000 things in between that. If you happen to be inspired by Frank Frazetta, get out the Frazetta book, set yourself up with some oil paints, and let nothing stop you. Why would you think about anything stopping you when you're having fun? You don't think about that when you're having fun. You're just having a great time, and it's so much fun, you want to do it again the next day. And the next day comes around, and you try it again, and it's even more fun. You'll have a day where you're frustrated, because that's the way it works on the planet Earth. And then you'll get up the next morning and say, I think I want to try that again. Let me see what I can do. And that makes up the minutes and hours and days of your life, and pretty soon it turns into years. And those years turn into decades. So because we have those years and decades, we need to fill it with things that we love more than anything else. We may have to support ourselves with a job for the time being, but I never want to tell people that what they dream about is impossible, because if it was, none of us who were dreamers would ever be where we are right now.
So nice to hear that. Nice to hear that, because it encourages a lot of people to make their dreams come true. So
included us.
Like this internet comic you were talking about that's very popular in Argentina. Who's going to be the next guy to do the next internet type of comic book? Who's going to be the next guy in Argentina among your group of friends that has so much ambition that they're going to be the next star in Argentina doing a comic book?
No one knows.
Somebody,
just
it'll be for sure, because that's the way it works.
Yes, they have they need to have that passion, to explode that passion.
Sir, and you spoke about that when you started working on comics, you had to draw some things that most people don't like people sitting, like backgrounds, and in your beginnings, you had the chance to do something very cool that was Nexus.
That's right.
What can you tell us about Nexus and his creation with Mike Baron and everything?
Well, all the things I've been telling you about how people come around to one, to be in comics, and the things they have to learn to do them well. Well, I was just starting out when I met Mike Baron. I was 24 years old. Baron was almost 30 years old. And we both wanted to do comics. So he gave me a story and I would draw it. And eventually he came back and said, there's some guys in town here. Think of the town that I was in, where somebody decided that they wanted to publish a comic book and transfer that to Argentina. So somebody in Argentina wanted to publish a comic book. So they wanted to get the guys that were probably the most reliable and the guys that were most excited about trying to do a comic book. It's like a casting call in Hollywood. Who is the best person for the role? And even though there's 100 people that want it, only one is going to be chosen. And that's going to be the guy, presumably, that works the hardest at it. I love to work hard. So based on that, I would get up and draw every day. And in the case of Nexus, me and Baron would meet up. We were about 20 minutes apart, travel distance. So we would get together and we'd start talking about this character that would go out and kill people, because there's a lot of bad guys out there that need it. And we threw a bunch of different names around, and Nexus actually started out as the Executioner. but there's a whole bunch of characters that are already called that. There was a popular paperback series called The Executioner, and so we had to try a little harder. Baron had to try a little harder for a name. One day he called me up, and the first words out of his mouth was Nexus. I said, "That's it." I didn't even know what it meant. I had to look it up, but it was like the perfect name. So the fact that these things came together the way they did, it's like magic, isn't it? So
Yes,
someone in Argentina can go through the identical process that I went through, being lucky and ambitious, and do the same thing in your country. The borders of a country mean nothing. If you have no borders in your mind, then why would where you live have anything to do with how successful you can be? It means nothing. It's all in your mind and how badly you might want something. So there's a guy somewhere in his room right now in Argentina that's looking through all the comic books that he loves so much. He's very inspired because everyone's inspired by somebody. And he's copying the drawings, and he's seen the things that he can't draw very well, and he knows he has to figure out a way somehow to make those drawings better than what they were yesterday. And every day he gets up and he tries to do that very thing. And eventually, before he can even realize it happening, he shows the work to his friends, and the friends say, I can't believe how much you've improved in the last 6 months. And the guy hears this, the artist hears this, and he goes, well, that's very exciting. I'm just going to keep doing it. And that's the guy that's going to make a mark from wherever he happens to live and very possibly set the next trends in comic books. It'll be someone like that.
Yeah, it's something that really happens, and it's difficult. It's difficult for the artist that's struggling to transcend the medium and to get the knowledge and to be knowledgeable in the medium.
Yeah, and to be someone in the medium.
Yeah, especially as we told you, here in Argentina, we have these independent editorials that work very well. We have our superheroes and everything else, but
Yes.
here we mostly we consume American superheroes and something European, and that's what an artist or most artists I think personally that look forward to. They look forward to, I know, draw Superman, draw Batman, draw Spider-Man. Yes. That's what they want, and it's a struggle, as you said, Mr. Red. It's something that has to be in the artist to pull this strength from inside and transcend the medium and go forward and never look back and
keep it going.
Okay, keep going.
I don't know. I think if someone, because I think that here in Argentina, the artists, they think, oh my God, they don't read my comics. They always read Batman, Superman, Spider-Man, Iron Man, Avengers, or whatever, and my comic books doesn't transcend. So they lower their arms and say, oh my God. But I think that they have to keep it going, because one day it will be the big shot disease in the corner of a street.
Exactly. One of the things that's smart people do in their lives is they look back to success stories and they read about how they came about. So the Superman, this guy that every American kid knows and everyone around the world knows, was started by two teenagers out of their home. They had no friends. Nobody liked them. So they got together and they created this character that they thought would be a lot of fun. And they would call him a Superman because he could do all these things that they wish they could do. And they got rejected by everyone.
Yes.
They kept trying. And that's the way it started. So try to remember that story more than the fact that everyone on Earth knows this character now. Another thing, 30, 40 years ago, the only people that were drawing comic books were American people that lived in New York. And if you read your recent comic books, you already know that people from around the world are now doing the top books at Marvel and DC.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
Yes.
Yes, indeed. Yes,
we know
indeed.
all the coffee shops. We know everything.
No, and it's something that we spoke about in other shows we have here, and especially with Spanish artists, that they are there's a lot of Spanish artists now on the comic book American industry, and it was like a boom for the Spanish artists.
The Spanish one.
And we spoke about it, and they say that it was something that happened from the day and night in a convention, presenting the portfolio to an artist, an editor, and they got the chance, and now they are top artists on the big two. It's
right.
destiny. It's destiny.
Yes, it's destiny.
Well, they were hired because their work was really good.
Yeah.
Really as simple as that. Provided your work is really good, now you just got to find an editor that will keep his word and put you on a book, whether it's a trial book or if you're really, really good, they'll assign you to a top book. Mm-hmm. So that belief system that people have, never underestimate that.
Sure. And how you got when you start with Nexus? You went through, I think, 60 issues. It was the Nexus run, and how something that I upload early today on my Instagram account that please people go see my Instagram account when I speak about this. How did you come up with the animated show from the Nexus?
Well, the animated show came about for, again, a very simple reason. When I was a kid and I saw some of these shows that were coming out of California, they blew my mind. It was the coolest stuff I'd ever seen. Well, the coolest stuff I've ever seen is still in my brain. And those cool things eventually became Nexus. And that, in turn, made me think about doing Nexus as an animated cartoon show. And the fact that nobody has brought that style of animation back makes it a perfect moment for me to succeed. Now, the fact that it's been many decades and it's never happened yet means nothing to me. I know that there's somebody out there that I haven't met yet that will give me all the things that I wanted as badly as I wanted to give them to him. And it'll be on TV and everyone will love it and it'll change the world.
And how do you end up doing this short to present? Do you do it yourself? You go to a company to help you do this, all the animation process? How was it?
Well, it was fascinating because I didn't know anything about animation. Nothing. I knew what I saw. But it's much like what you guys did. You know, you knew nothing about how to do a podcast, but here you are doing a podcast. I was lucky I had some fans that were in the animation business, and we all got together. And I just told these guys, it was like three to four people that were meeting with me in my living room when I was living when I moved to California. And I said, I want to do a Nexus cartoon. I have no idea how to do it, but with you guys here, all being as enthused about it as I am, let's see what we can do. So it started out where we knew, none of us knew anything about it. I mean, literally nothing. And eventually, you know, through a lot of stumbling and messing up and doing things wrong and spending several $1,000s making things wrong. The reason I kept going is because I just wanted to see this thing in the air. That alone got me through all the moments of disappointment and learning things the hard way. I mean, learning things the hard way really is the only way that you will never forget how to do things, because it was hard.
That's wise.
Sir,
that's wise.
Sir, and you consider sometimes to do this on the internet nowadays?
No,
just a pilot or just something short stuff?
Well, the stuff you just got done showing on your screen there was my version of that. The thinking behind it is very simple. I would produce a couple minutes of animation, put it online or throw it out there someplace and see if somebody responded to me. I've had a few people that were interested, but nothing ever really came to it. So in the meantime, I just keep doing my comic books because I love that. And I don't need $1 million or a guy to green light a show to do them. It's just me, my pencil, and my drawing board. Comics. TV show is a little different.
Yes.
Sir, now that you mentioned that you like to work with the pencil, what's your what do you like most? Work with the pencil and the traditional comic book art, or the oil paintings?
Well, everything I do is traditional.
Oh.
I have no computers here. I hopefully expect to never do any comic books that isn't done with my hand and a pencil on paper. That's the generation that I grew up doing things as, and that's the way I want to stay, because if I did it any other way, I would be unhappy. All the machines they have nowadays to do everything but do your laundry. I'm glad, but that's just not for me.
It just loses the magic, isn't it?
Yeah.
It loses the magic to get the pencil, the paper, the feeling of the paper, the sensation to work on paper. I think it loses some of the magic.
Well, I sure think so. Look, there's always going to be these incredible changes that take place in the 70 or 80 years that we're alive. Doesn't mean you have to follow them. A lot of people think you have to follow them because if you don't, you're not going to get the work. Well, I'm still as successful as ever. I have as much work as I want, and I work in traditional tools. How about that?
I love it. It will be faster doing that things, but as Kyle said, it loses magic, all the magic. So,
and it has something special, the traditional way. When I ask you, sir, about if you prefer the traditional, also what I was asking is that you work also on acrylics with the oil paintings, and that it's something that rarely seen releasing, and it's amazing what you do with that technique.
Well, that's what I'll be doing for the rest of my life.
Thank
do
you,
you
sir.
like most? Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And so, do you like most the old painting drawing that drawing with a pen and ink and all that stuff?
How does it compare to oil painting? You mean with a like?
Yeah, it's comparing both.
Well, to me, all these different mediums is just another place to explore and have fun in. I see guys that do oil paintings, and I think, boy, wouldn't that be fun if I could learn to do that? And that's how it starts. And now that I'm doing it, I've been doing it for 40 years now. None of it's lost its magic. It's still the most funnest thing to do in the world is to, like I have models coming over now, live models. And I have an oil painting set up, and I have the best time setting these models up with the right kind of light and the right kind of pose and the right kind of outfit, and taking my brush, squeezing my paint out of my palette, looking at all these wonderful colors, and I dip my brush into paint and I get it just right, and then I put it up there, the right color, and I start forming these shapes, and pretty soon, based on all these fundamental techniques that I've learned, I'm able to produce something of beauty that looks just like the person I'm trying to paint. Well, that's magic.
Yeah, indeed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
indeed.
Of course.
Indeed. And it's something beautiful that you speak about the experience of the oil painting, the experience of using the brush, choosing the colors, combining them. It's something very, very refreshing, very, very beautiful.
It is beautiful, and I just absolutely love it.
You always do that with all your work, including it on the paper and with the pencil.
Was that a question of some kind?
Yes, of course. If you have some inspire on something or listen to music and start some kind of music to start drawing something.
Yeah, every day is like that for me. Every day. You can see in the background there, right about here. This is my animation desk.
Oh.
And all the stuff you see me do for Nexus is put done right here.
Mm.
So when you look at my animated cartoon show, my 3 minutes or so of Nexus, every last drawing was done on that animation table. And that was given to me by the guy who created Johnny Quest. And his name was Doug Wildey.
Oh my God.
We love that show.
You know something, we have to tell you this. We grew up in early 30 years ago, yes, in 1992. Cartoon Network, the TV network, arrived to Argentina, and they show all that stuff: Johnny Quest, Space Ghost, My Tour, and everything like that. And we still love that kind of drawing, that stuff, that animated stuff, because it's amazing. Look at Johnny Quest, Hachi, Race Bannon, Professor, everyone. It's amazing. It's we are a huge fan of those things. So we really appreciate that thing. So
well, if I can for a moment, let me go around the corner here and grab some of the layout drawings from Space Ghost and Johnny Quest that I've now put in the Nexus. So I'll be ready.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Bueno,
gente, ya está. O sea, esto, no podemos más. Gente, por favor, dejen su like, suscríbanse al canal, ya está, listo. ¿Qué más le podemos dar con Mario? Ya está.
No, ya está.
So here's done on 12 fill paper. And this is a setup shot of Nexus talking to Dave. And then That's Nexus's eyes moving right there from this close-up.
Oh.
And then we cut to a different shot. This is a different scene right here where Sundra is
Yes.
talking with Nexus. Nexus is thinking about something, and Sundra is working on this little pop-up computer. And it comes right up from the desk. And I just thought of, what would be really fun about the latest kind of computers. Well, you just kind of tap the top of the table and it comes popping up. Square kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know what happens next. Okay, so it's a reverse shot of Sundra. So we go from this shot to a reverse shot of her.
To the other.
Yeah. And there's a close-up of Nexus. And I think we had some, these are some other, just general kind of drawings that I've done. There's Nexus talking to Dave again. And there's a reverse shot of Dave.
Yeah.
So all these shots just come from, having watched all these shows that you and I, we all love so much. And very much wanted to see it on the air so we can inspire the next generation of people that love the things that we did. And to me, it's just making the world a better place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And anyone can do it that wants it bad enough. And I'm someone that wants it bad enough.
We're on shocks here, sir. Sorry, but
Yeah.
we're on shock here.
Sorry.
Sorry. We are so fans about everything. Sorry.
We're having a great time, Mr. Wood. It's really interesting talking to you and what you speak about your experience and your career. It's really interesting. And speaking about comics, we loved. You start on DC working with this comic, I think.
Yes.
Oh.
This comic I have with the Titans, a team I loved. How did you land this project?
Well, when we started to do Nexus, the people in New York started to hear about it. This comic book being done in the middle of the U.S. instead of something that was done in New York. So it was a curiosity to all these people that worked at the big companies, and eventually they would take a look at them and say, well, this Rude guy seems to be doing pretty good. I like what he does. He seems to be improving a little bit at each issue. I think I'd like to work with this guy. So then I get a call from Marv Wolfman, who is the author of the Teen Titans. And, back then we just had letters or we had phone calls, which I think is a good thing. Sometimes people hide behind their emails and their internet when they really should be making personal phone calls. I love emails, but I kind of make it a habit to call people far more than I will write them, just to hear their voice and let them hear my voice. And that's the way we did it back then. He called me up and said, George Perez is going to be doing something else for an issue or so, and we want to know if you do a fill-in issue of the Teen Titans. And I said, sure, I would love to. Now, I wasn't really a fan of these characters, but the chance being offered to me was a chance to really make make my mark outside of what I was doing in Nexus. So I grabbed that chance, and then I produced those 24 or so pages, and that's the book that you're looking at right now.
Kyle, you have problems with the microphone?
Can you hear me? Okay?
Yeah.
No.
Here we have some pages, and I can help to imagine that since you are a great Jack Kirby fan, here when Cyborg it's with a raincoat and the helmet, it's like the thing.
Yeah.
Removing the helmet and the raincoat. It was your chance to do this your way, the Kirby way, and I love it. I love it. When I saw it, I love it. Was that your intention, or?
My intention was to be very happy that people in New York were starting to notice my work and do the best I can so that I might inspire more people from New York calling me up and offering me jobs. And that, of course, led to many other things like World's Finest and Hulk versus Superman and the Spider-Man miniseries and all the things that I've had such a good time doing. But my main thing is Nexus, and I'll always go back to that because that's where my heart really is.
Yes.
Besides with Mike Baron, you both create a whole bunch of characters, a universe. It's pretty interesting. It's pretty interesting. Also, watching all the influences that have from the Space Ghost, Flash Gordon, Star Wars, anything you want to, Johnny Quest, anything you want to think about in the sci-fi genre, and it's a great work, sir. I read it the first 8 issues last week, and I think it was called Origin. It was the first one, and it was pretty awesome.
Well, good. That's what I set out to do, and the fact that there's 50,000 copies of this comic printed, or 100,000. Well, that's 100,000 people that might read it and have a good time, and start dreaming about what they can do with their own lives. That's how it worked with me. That's how it works with people that are reading what I now do. I call it planting seeds.
Yeah.
Well, this cover is iconic.
This is something that you mentioned, sir. That it's the world's finest. Where you worked with the Gibbons. The Gibbons that worked before with Alan Moore in Watchmen. How was work with somebody like Gibbons, and how was Gibbons giving you the
instructions?
The script. The script was of Gibbons was very describing, or just a simple plot and creative freedom for you?
Well, when I got scripts from Dave, he mentioned that he's only trying to think of the word. I'm trying to think of the English word, and I can't think of it. Because he worked with Alan Moore, and Alan Moore, when he would hand a script to somebody, had really long descriptions, paragraphs full of descriptions about what he wanted the scene to look like. That's what Dave would give me. Now, I'm not a guy that wants to plod through paragraph after paragraph of descriptions. I don't need them. All I really need is a sense of what is going to happen on the page. Dialogue is helpful. I like to know what they're saying so I can cue their body languages to what they're saying. But for the most part, Dave Gibbons' scripts drove me crazy. There's too much information. I don't need it. Because I can see all the stuff in my head without all the descriptions. To me, it just kind of short-circuited my brain because I think in a very simple way. But Dave was a wonderful guy. I remember after we got done doing World's Finest, I was in England, and we hooked up, and I saw his home, and I saw the countryside, and I have such wonderful memories of that.
Sir, did you inspire to do the cover of World's Finest, Superman from the Fleischers?
Yeah.
It's lovely.
I think that's a pretty well-known story at this point. And it was an interesting situation because I thought that if I brought Superman back to the way I thought he should be, that DC would have, say, great job, Steve. But they didn't do that. They gave me grief about it. They gave me a real hard time about that. And to this day, I'll never understand what they were talking about.
How so?
Nowadays we saw that character nowadays in Superman and Lois with the symbol, with the S, with the black font and everything, and oh my God.
Well, because I stuck to my guns and wouldn't listen to them, I eventually succeeded in inspiring other people to want to bring their Superman back, the version that I brought back.
Mm-hmm.
So, in the end, I won.
Yeah.
DC.
Yeah.
It's the artwork. It's beautiful here.
Yeah.
One of the people in the chat says, "World Finest, it's an amazing work of sequential narrative, excellent." And
Look at that Batman. Look at that Batman.
Yeah, we have a traditional Batman from it's like a Batman from the Detective Comics 27.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going for too.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
I love that the page on the Daily Planet that Perry White holding the newspaper. It's amazing, sir. It's really amazing.
Well, you'll notice that one of the amazing things about the art of storytelling is how you can form relationships between the different panels on a page.
Mm-hmm.
So in the case of that page with Perry White,
mm-hmm.
There he is holding up the paper, and then you pan out and you see these two hands coming in, Batman, Superman, and then in the bottom they both say goodbye and insert panels, and then one goes down and one goes up.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing.
Yeah, lovely.
That's awesome. That's
lovely.
That's really awesome because you can almost feel the emotion of the scene. You can see how the camera moves back, and you see that this motion. It's amazing. It's what people say. It's a great work of sequential art. So
and also it's very function. The opposites are working very well here because one is going down and the other is going up. It's amazing. It's really amazing.
Well, Batman's going down to the bowels of Gotham where it's very dark
Yeah.
and very clammy and wet and disgusting, and Superman's going up to where the light is, to where the clouds come in, where the sun comes from. And that was the purpose of World's Finest, was to show how two superheroes do things in the exact opposite way based on who they are in their heads.
yeah. Well, here we have
Action
some covers that you did for Action Comics. Truly amazing. This one is for Action Comics 1000, one of the variant covers.
Well, these covers right here, I'll start with the first one I did with
the
Jimmy Olsen Legends comic. Obviously, this was my chance to take what Jack Kirby had done when he first got to DC in 1970, to cover Jimmy Olsen. These books were, you talk about magic. Well, I never saw anything as magic as when Jack Kirby would take on characters that used to be so kind of, Jimmy Olsen wore a bow tie, something that nobody had worn in the last 30 years. And he wore these very conservative shirts and coats and stuff. Then Jack Kirby comes along and puts him in this racing jacket. And I just loved it.
Yeah.
So that was my chance to take what I loved so deeply from Jack Kirby's Jimmy Olsen and try my hand at it. The other one, what was the other one again?
Excuse me, sir. And also you worked with a longtime collaborator, Mark Evanier, from Jack Kirby.
Yeah, Evan was somebody that came along with Mr. Miracle.
Mm.
And what else did I do with Mark? I just had it in my head and I just kind of forgot about it. I did a couple other things with him. But yeah, that was that Mark came along and helped me out with the Jimmy Olsen book. And it was just pure fun. Mark's a very, very competent, very devoted writer to, and of course he was Jack Kirby's right-hand man for 10 years. So who better to describe it than Mark Evanier. The one in the,
Did you know he has a podcast, Mr.
Not know that, no.
Yeah, he has a podcast and he does interviews to comic book creators.
Oh,
It's
that's
a good one. It's a good one.
Well, Mark is, I think he's one of the best interviewers I've ever met. I mean, he just nails it when he goes on panels in San Diego. And I think he does the best job of interviews I've ever heard. He always remembers the big topic for that hour. He always goes back to it if people get off whatever it is, off topic. And he makes sure everyone that's up in the panel with him gets a chance to talk. That's what a good interviewer does. He's kind of the overseer, and the better you are at doing that kind of stuff, the more fun people have. And I think he's one of the best I've ever seen. The middle cover there, I got a call from Mark Chiarello, who was the art editor at DC, and he wanted to know if I would do the first issue of that Action 1000 retrospective book or whatever it was. So
it was Action Comics 1000, sir.
That's right, yeah. And so once he said, "Would you like to do the cover?" Because he wanted the first cover to reflect this kind of the original look of Superman. And of course, that's what they think about. They think about me when they think about the Fleischers or the original look of Superman. So then I just had to think of an idea. And one of the things that I always loved, it's a very obscure painting by Norman Rockwell of Samson. And him and a bunch of his illustrator friends were commissioned by, MGM or whoever it was, where the lion roars in the beginning. I think that's MGM. And I saw this movie called Samson and Delilah. And that was the one all these illustrators were trying to illustrate as they were all commissioned by MGM to do their version of a particular scene from that movie. And Rockwell, he not only had the best one, but it was the most simple of all of them. The other paintings were expertly done according to the styles of the people they hired. But all of them were much more involved than what Rockwell did. What Rockwell did was so simple, you wouldn't believe it. And it was, the power of it was just, it took your breath away. And it had, there was a scene where Samson was standing in the middle, ready to take down the pillars.
Yes.
Well, I always liked that painting. You should look it up online if you can find it. And so I did my version of Superman doing the same thing. And instead of him about to take the pillars down, he is taking the pillars down.
And the first one, you portrayed Superman loving the earth. He watching the geese flying. It's very emotional, touching for him too. No, right?
Well, in case of that cover, I got a call from the editor, Brittany, who's a wonderful, wonderful lady to work with. And they mentioned to me that they're going to be doing a bunch of covers that have one color on it. And they asked me if I wanted to do a cover for that. So then the process starts where you have to think up a cover idea. And remember I was telling you I used to love to draw animals?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Yes.
so I just combined Superman flying above a flock of geese, which I call them honkers because they honk.
Hmm.
When you're around a bunch of Canadian geese, all you hear is the honking.
Oh.
So I always laugh at these guys for honking so much. So I just thought, wouldn't that be nice if he's up there in the clouds? You know, he's not beating anybody up. He's not saving anyone's life. He's just going up to the sky to enjoy the fact that he can fly, and he happens to come across this flock of geese. And I thought that was something different from what most people would have done with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that particular cover, it's from one color because it was like a series of special variant covers with platinum background. I have that one. I don't know if you can tell.
Oh, I can see fine. Yeah, they put a lot of silver in that comic, didn't they?
Yes.
Yeah, that's why it was one color, but you can tell that it's platinum in the back, and then it's normal. Always,
Back to normal, yeah. Well, that's something else I should talk about is, you know, everyone thinks that comic book covers have to be an action scene. Well, who says that has to be like that? If you're going to make a difference, you can't think like everyone else. Now, you should be able to do the action scenes because they're fun, and that's what guys like to draw. They like to draw action scenes and pretty girls. Well, there's more to life than just that. So let your imagination go to places that most comic book artists wouldn't let their imagination go to, and develop that. I remember seeing a drawing where Alex Toth had just had Superman lying on a I think on a porch of some kind, and he felt he was having a bad day. I thought, everyone else in that book, the 50 or so artists that were also in that book where Alex Toth had drawn that scene, drew the stuff you would expect to see. And then here's Alex Toth drawing a picture of Superman with a dog next to him. And they were both in sympathy with each other. I thought that was, it really got my imagination going for what you could do that was atypical, which means it's not what most people would have thought of doing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's something that brings something new to the medium, because every cover is the same, and when you watch something that really stands out, I think it says I think it was I don't remember, it was Stanley that says that I don't think it was him, but the said was that it doesn't matter the content, all that matters is the cover, because it would sell the book. That was
Martin Goodman.
I don't remember. I think
Martin Goodman.
I don't think it was Stanley, but I remember that that was the premise that they use with Jack Kirby when they tell him do pre-covers. It doesn't matter what you do inside, just pre-covers to sell the book.
And he created universes, magnificent universes.
Yeah, someday I'll have to tell you about the times I met Jack. Went over to his house, spent an evening talking to him. It was, I tell you, it was like meeting Einstein or Jesus Christ when I met Jack.
I can imagine what was like, because for us he's a hero. It's an eminence for us.
You know, Mr. Root, recently here in Argentina was the first time they print an omnibus about the Eternals. So fortunately, I got the omnibus, and also I love Kirby. And the first time having the omnibus in my hands, it was very emotional because I love the art of Kirby. It's my favorite, and it's I'm speechless.
Well, I tell you, when I saw his work and when I had the chance to visit him those several times, I was speechless too. I walked away thinking I just met Einstein. He had to be one of the most incredibly decent men and giving men I've ever met in my life. It was like being around your favorite uncle. And everything he said to you made you feel good.
Oh.
That was Jack Kirby and Roz, his wife.
Oh my God. He shared a lot of your experience to you, right?
Yeah, well, Kirby would talk about anything. His mind was so fertile that you didn't even have to ask him a question. He would just start talking about these incredible things, just out of nowhere. He had a brain that was, I could only compare to, I think genius IQ is anything above 160. And there are people in the world with an IQ of like 206, which is almost inconceivable. Well, imagination-wise, Jack Kirby had an artistic IQ of probably 500.
Oh my God. He was a genius, real genius.
He was a genius. Looking at his artwork, it's something that you can. I can imagine someone who doesn't like Kirby's artwork because it's something that you look at it in black and white, and it's so
God.
good, so awesome,
perfect,
so perfect. And he wasn't a perfect penciler. He has a very strong pencil, very strong
drawing.
Very strong drawings with broad lines. It wasn't something clean, the artwork, but it was so beautiful, and it is so beautiful. I love it when I read something of Curie in black and white. It's something that
we recently we read Fantastic Four, the first 10 issues, and we got thrilled, really thrilled, because we love it, really love it, and we discuss about it, and was I reading the pages. It was an amazing adventure, and his art. It's beautiful, really beautiful.
Since you're such Jack Kirby fans, if you don't mind, I'm going to run back to a certain area where I keep some of my original art.
Okay.
And I'll haul out some of the pages that I bought from Jack at his home.
Okay.
These are all
okay.
Okay.
Por favor, gente, esto es histórico. Esto es histórico.
Esto es histórico, y es más, te digo, cuando termine la entrevista, nosotros vamos a estar una hora más hablando entre nosotros dos. O sea,
olvídate,
sin dudas.
Olvídate.
Gracias por el aguante a todos los que están acá.
Muchas gracias por el aguante, por compartir, por estar ahí, gente. La verdad que es un
lo
placer.
pueden ver después, no sé.
Con subtítulos, obviamente, porque va a tener subtítulos.
Pero no se lo pierdan, no se lo pierdan. Muchachos, muchachas, no se lo pierdan. Y también invitamos a toda la gente que dibuja y todo lo demás, toda la gente independiente, artistas, tintadores, guionistas, todo lo que vean esta charla que tuvimos con el señor, que estamos teniendo con el señor Steve Rudd, que es maravillosa, maravillosa de verdad.
Y que ahí viene a mostrar arte original de Jack Kirby, gente. arte original de Jack Kirby.
De Kirby.
¿Estamos? Enough said.
Con eso, no sé. Gracias.
¿Qué más querés? ¿Qué más querés?
Sí.
Estoy dejando la vida.
Estamos dejando todo, muchachos. Estamos laburando. Trata de casar. Bueno, gracias, Alexa.
Bueno, gracias Alexa.
Azul,
Gracias, Alexa.
Freak Inside.
Freak Inside, todos los que estaban ahí, la verdad
Manuel,
que sí.
Mauricio, todo.
Well, good. That gave you guys a chance to talk to your audience while I was finding these pages here.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Let's see what we can find here. Here's one.
Oh, God. Mr. Miracle.
Mr. Miracle. Look how
Mirá que vi
awesome,
Marta, boludo.
look how awesome the blacks in the
Yes, the inking.
the inking is incredible. It's incredible.
Big Bartha and Mr. Miracle there.
Oh, this.
You know, our audience love Mr. Miracle, and look at that.
I'll just hold them up one by one, okay?
That's dope. Oh,
Mr. Miracle 2.
Mr. Miracle.
Look at that. Look at that, man.
Look at the thing that action that he did. What a lovely.
And you can see how much difference the inker makes when you see these pictures here.
Oh, look at that.
Look at that. Omniplace did Jack Kirby's Mr. Miracle. My God.
Look at that.
Look, it's lovely.
It's incredible. It's incredible how clean the original is, because you can tell that there's another line, or there's something erased. It's totally clean.
And also it's most enjoyable looking at that pictures in black and white, the art. That kind of art, it's for me, it's I love it.
Well, you know, we all know how much Jack Kirby's art is going for nowadays. Some of those pages I show you could probably go up to $30,000, $40,000, but I'll never sell them. Never.
It has a lot of meaning for you, and and it's a reminder. I think it's a reminder of Jack Kirby's and you meeting him,
your friendship, or
yeah, it goes way beyond money. And
of course.
The pages that I'm going to show you now were actually bought from Jack at his home, and this is Calidad inking right here. He's very illustrative style that I just love.
Look at that. Look at that. Werewolf. Yeah.
Yeah, I just
werewolf. Oh my God.
No, it's beautiful.
Look at the tree here with. No, it's amazing.
I love that Calidad inking would give Jack's work. I just really liked it.
Yeah. And the thing.
Here's a page from the New Gods.
Oh. With the Orion.
With Orion, right. His last job, right? New Gods in DC?
He did this work in the early 1970s.
Yeah.
But he could even make a page like this look fun to read. You go way back in perspective. And when it's colored, you would have these dark blues, like it was a nice scene, and it just lit up your imagination.
Parece Solano, ¿viste, Kai?
Yeah.
So sorry, I comment because we had here an artist called Francisco Solano Lopez, that the picture you're showing, it's very similar. His art is very similar than Jack's. It's very similar.
Here's a page from one of the 2-page insert stories that Jack would do, and I just love this thing. I don't care if the main character is not in there. I just love it because it's really cool looking. Look at that creature back there.
Yeah,
I mean,
Yeah.
and the guns pointing at them, and also the soldiers there. It's lovely.
Yeah, and the fact that you can see no detail in this monster makes them all the more scary.
Yeah.
Look at those monsters.
Oh my God.
He drew so well. He drew so well those monsters, man.
I just love
It's
it.
lovely, guys.
I looked at Kirby dots. The fuck. Sorry.
Give me that.
The Kirby
And the
dots,
explosion and everything like that. It's amazing. He was great.
man. I love it.
He was God. Really, he
Please,
was God.
Mr. Rod, please tell me that you have some of Kamandi.
Commandy original art, I don't actually have any of that.
Oh.
But the papers I bought from Jack are things that that were most personal to me. And as you can see in the bottom here, he would sign it to me.
Oh my God.
What a lovely detail. What a
The
lovely
detail. Look at that. The DNA alien. Oh my God, Jack Kirby was and still is the king, right?
Yeah.
Oh God.
So I've got other ones. I've got some stuff from the Demon.
Ah.
This is one of my all-time favorites right here. I love the Guardian, the Golden Guardian from Jimmy Olsen.
Oh,
Look at that.
Harper.
I'll show you
Look
this
at that.
up right here.
Look at that.
Oh, look at the jump there. It's amazing.
Yeah, look, it almost makes you feel dizzy.
Yeah, look at the streets down there. Oh my God, the art, jeez.
Look at that beautiful girl that he drew.
Yeah.
Yes,
And then,
beautiful.
of course, he would sign it to me down there,
Yes,
which I would ask him to do. A couple words about when I met Jack.
Sir, now that I've seen that it's dedicated to you, and it says the dude. Why do they call you the dude? How did they come up with the nickname?
Well, dude is kind of a universal word, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, well, lucky me. Well, we have to go back to the mid-1970s. And everyone was calling everyone dude. And so I saw when people would would say the word dude, I would call them dude back. So it was a bunch of guys talking about dude, right? And then I thought, well, geez, it kind of rhymes with my last name.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll become Rude the Dude. So for the last 40 years, I've been Rude the Dude.
Yeah.
So I get these pages up and I just look at them and I just, it takes me back to a perfect place in my brain.
Yes, that pages also transport us to our father, our uncle, our relatives, because they read all that story, this kind of stuff. Oh my God!
Look at the
Oh.
Evil Factory. It's the Evil Factory.
Evil Factory.
Yeah, this is from the Jimmy Olsen comic, and I just love it. I just love this page right here.
Look at that.
It's awesome. It was awesome how Kirby imagined all the machinery, how all the,
Yes.
the machinery works. It's
Let's see.
it's incredible.
I'm going to bring out the best, the absolute best for last. Okay.
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 This is a page from Tales of Suspense from 1966. But I consider Kirby to be at his absolute peak. And this was going for $3,000 like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Now it's probably going for $175,000.
Oh my God.
I'll show you what it is right
A lot
now.
of money.
It's an oversized page that's 12 by 18. And I looked at this, and this may be the happiest guy in the world to look at this page.
Captain America. Oh. Oh,
It's
look at the cap.
Never
Look at the cap.
I would see an original Kirby
Yeah.
artwork.
Me neither. Me neither. This is. And I love the thing with the captain, the poses, the thing, the action of that page explodes action, pure action.
And the other, let's see, oversized page that I have was something from Thor. Thor's not actually in here, but I couldn't care less. To me, this page, it shows me everything that I want to learn to do as an artist who draws and inks. That's what I from this page right here.
Look at that.
I just love this page.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love
A lot of dialogue, a lot of art, faces. It was
The machinery.
The machinery. It was an issue from Thor or a journey or.
This is from my issue of Thor.
Oh.
And I bought this thing because I could learn so much from it. I could learn. Well, you can see all the notes that Kirby wrote up here. They're still all there.
Whoa.
No, that letters are recognizable. I love it.
The lettering is a thing of beauty.
Yeah.
I mean, the lettering is just incredible.
Yeah.
So I learned how I wanted to letter based on this original art here.
Yeah.
And the inking, like on this face right here, and this panel here, I just adore it. It's loose and it's free and it's emotional, and well, you can see how excited I get about Jack Kirby's art.
Yeah. It's amazing. Yeah. Really amazing.
And then, of course, he signed it down here. This is long before he met me. He signed all the art. This because he wanted people that bought his art for however much it was going for to have it signed.
Mm-hmm.
And that gives you a small measure of the humanity that Jack Kirby just exuded with everything that he was. Everything he did exuded something that I can't really describe. And there's a lot of, I realized at one point, why try to describe a picture? I mean, it's worth 1,000 words. So rather than say 1,000 words, just hold up the picture. I mentioned earlier how when I was meeting up with Jim Starlin in Atlanta one year, the page he hauled out of his portfolio and just gave it to me.
Yeah, the Master of Kung Fu. Oh, that's Fu Manchu, right?
That's Fu Manchu. It's from the very first issue that he drew of the Master of Kung Fu comic book.
Yeah, Shang-Chi and also that kind of stories are like espionage, right? ninja art, martial arts, and everything like that.
Well, what I liked it for was the way the panels flow.
Yeah.
And Starlin actually sat me down and said, well, you remember the show Kung Fu, Steve? I said, you bet. I loved it. He goes, well, I'm trying to duplicate the things that were shown on the TV show. Now, if you look at this bottom panel here, it's a flashback. You know, you go from present day to a quick cut of a flashback. And this is something the show Kung Fu always did. And here's Starlin doing the same thing, not in something that moves like TV does, but something on a flat page that doesn't actually move. But he did it so well, it appears to move.
Yes.
And that is one of the great magical things about comic books. Because honestly, I don't think there's anything on earth that compares to it.
Totally, because
we are speechless because this show is coming from the bottom of first of all from his heart, then from mine, and
Two hearts are
also
better, I think. Make that.
Okay, 3. And to us, is really important to talk with you because they are so important to our lives. Because Kirby and a lot of artists, yourself, everyone, gave us hope, fun, action, all the emotions with your work. And it's very important to us. For me, it's very important because you imagine we have our normal lives, we have a lot of things, and we have bad situations, and we read one of your comic books, and you gave us hope, everything, and it's just very important. So thank you, sir, for all of this. Thanks to you, because as I always said to the audience and to the artists and the writers, that you are the real hero, our heroes. You are our heroes, not Superman, not Batman. No, you with your work. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
You know, I'll say this as a parting word here. In the moments of my life where it's been the very hardest, and the most sad, and something that just makes you not even want to get up in the morning sometimes. The only thing that ever brought me out of that stage, that state, is a comic book, milk, and a plate of cookies. That was the one thing that would always work no matter what. It wasn't talking to a psychiatrist. It wasn't going to a church. It wasn't talking to your parents. It wasn't calling up a friend. It was a comic book and some cookies and milk. It's been a lot of fun talking to you. I hope we could do this again sometime.
Yeah, indeed, sir. It was a totally dream come true to have the chance to speak with you and to experience the world of comics through your eyes. So that, because it wasn't we didn't know how much you love comics, and we always think that writers and artists love comics, but what we experience today with you is someone who actually feels comics, breathes comics, and loves comics, and
he's one
that's
of
something
us.
that's
He's one of us.
One of us, exactly. That's
One of us.
And I'm totally grateful that you spared some time to speak with us and gave us the chance to meet you and be so kind with us.
Well, can we do this again sometime?
Yeah,
Sure,
of course. You're
Sure.
invited.
And also you're invited if you come to Argentina one time, if you to the conventions, of course. We welcome you.
Well, I'm not a big traveler, but when I get invited to some countries, I kind of owe it to myself to go, because meeting people is really the secret of life. When you travel and meet people from different parts of the world, you come away with an experience that you can't get any other way. You have to go there and meet them.
Yeah, that is something that we lose with the pandemics, and we're trying to get back. And it's something that we have to get back, because there's not other thing we can do without meeting in person. This is amazing. It's something that it's different. It's different. It gave us the chance, for example, to reach you and to have the chance to meet you and speak with you and know how kind you are. And but I would love to meet you in person.
Yes, me too,
that doesn't give me the chance to say, no, it's okay, I already met Steve Roth.
No.
I want to meet him in person.
Yes, not like this.
Well, I just had an idea go through my head. You want to hear it?
Yeah,
sure.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Mario, what's your favorite character in comics?
Well, my favorite comics is Batman.
Okay, Batman. And Kyle, who's your favorite character?
Superman.
Okay, well, if you send me your addresses, you'll be both getting a sketch from me, Batman and Superman.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
We will.
You're welcome.
Also, before we go, very happy. We wanted to tell us about this Kickstart that you have on the Kickstarter. Yeah, about the sketchbook.
Yeah, well, I think at some point somebody's got the bright idea of taking a lot of the art that we do as commissions. In my case, it's commission things for my sketchbook and things that people would never ordinarily see, and put them together in a book. One of the advantages of the here and now is anyone can publish a book. It was something that was impossible when I was growing up. Nobody could publish their own book. Nowadays, it's commonplace. So let's take advantage of these new wonderful things that we have. And it also applies to people that want to publish their own comic book. They do the comic book, they bring it to a printer, he puts it together, puts a couple of staples in it, and you've got an instant comic book that you can be very proud of and show off to people who you might want to try and get work from. So it's a wonderful day and age that we're living in right now.
Yes, indeed, sir. So, whoever who wants to support the Kickstarter, here's the address. Also, here's Mr. Rad website to visit, and you can also buy original art on the website. Is that right, sir?
That's right.
Okay. So you can buy the original art from Mr. Root, and we're gonna say thank you, Mr. Root, for being so kind and for spend this lovely and amazing and unforgettable evening with us.
Well, I
hope you have a great time.
I will, and I'll look forward to next time.
Sure, of course, sir.
Sure.
Okay. Adios. Hasta luego.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Gente, nada. Chao. Chao. Muchísimas gracias y suscríbanse al canal, dejen su like, compartan.
¿Qué te puedo decir?
Esto es espectacular. ¿Esto qué fue, Mario? ¿Cómo se llama el programa?
Protagonistas del cómic, querido.
Chao, gente.
Nos vemos en la próxima. Chao.